There are 6 steps to being a great expert witness. If you execute and understand these 6 major points, I guarantee your success in developing and excelling in a forensic consulting practice in the area of your professional specialty. Architecture, medicine, accounting, vocational counseling, life care planning, the rules of expert witnessing are the same for every professional specialty. So here we go. Number 1, and this is probably the most obvious. You must perform a thorough, competent, objective analysis in your specific field. Of course, this is obvious, but here's what happens in practice. Your client and your client's lawyer are heavily invested in their view of your issue, and from the outset of their involvement with you, they're frequently arguing the righteousness of their very biased position with you on your issue. To maintain a successful forensic consulting practice, you must be a credible expert, not one who is bought and paid for by your client. Your client's lawyer often forgets about game day, when a cross-examining lawyer will be challenging you on your analysis and all of your assumptions. If you haven't developed them from a balanced perspective, your position of credibility and legitimacy will evaporate in front of everyone's eyes. So the most important first step to being a great expert witness is having objectivity and balance in your conclusions and your expert opinion. Don't let your clients bully you. Number 2, the inexperienced expert thinks that simply doing a good job, like I talked about in major point number 1, will carry the day. Don't be naive. The second point to understand to be a great expert witness is that the other side of the case is arguing against you. Litigation relies on adversarial arguments, and the adversary system extends to every issue in the case. So, you certainly believe that you've constructed a legitimate, technically correct opinion, but the other side doesn't care. They're arguing against you, your analysis, your opinion, and your conclusion. You should approach your job with this fact in mind. It's also important to keep in mind that the arguments against you aren't necessarily fair. The opposition will use anything it can to defeat your opinion, your background, a minor point taken out of context, a preliminary opinion, anything. Be mindful of this reality and structure everything you do in your workup of a case to know that the other side disagrees with you and they'll use anything they can to discredit you or your opinion. This is a simple fact of the expert witness's role in litigation, and if you don't understand this fact, you will fail. Number 3. There are no privileges to anything the designated expert witness does in the course of his workup of a case. Now, there are a few very technical exceptions to this lack of privilege rule, but they're not worth talking about here. Accept the fact that nothing you do is privileged. Here's why this is important. Many lawyers are used to talking to their clients, and those communications fall within the attorney-client privilege, never to be disclosed to the other side of the case. Consequently, many of those lawyers don't initially realize that anything they say to you, any note that you scribble down, any email they send to you is not protected from discovery by the other side. Falling back on the reality that the other side will use anything it can to discredit or disqualify you, they'll take a miscellaneous note or an email out of context and try to use it to discredit your opinion. The expert's lack of privilege extends to everything the expert does in the case, including file documentation, note-taking, retention of preliminary drafts of analyses, computer backup files, and more. If you're not constantly mindful of the lack of privilege of everything that you do, your otherwise well-constructed analysis will be undermined in arguments by the other side with preliminary notes, draft documents, emails, detailed billings, and the like. Remember, the opposition doesn't care about the correctness of your opinion. They just want to disagree with it. Everything and anything in your file will be taken out of context and used against you. Prepare your file documentation with this reality in mind. Number 4, the expert deposition. You can only lose, and you need to understand that on your way in. The deposition isn't a casual conversation where the expert educates the other side on the subtleties of the analysis. The expert deposition is a formal legal procedure where the other side is trying to learn your opinion and also obtain any information they can to undermine your opinion. Don't think that they just want to understand what you did. They don't. There are rules for the expert's conduct in deposition that you should be mindful of, and they're too detailed for this short overview. But recognize that the deposition is a formal litigation procedure. Answer only the questions asked of you. Don't volunteer any information not specifically asked for. Don't expand on your answers unless you're specifically asked. You can screw up your entire case by giving an incompetent expert deposition. I have training videos on the expert's role in deposition that you should look at to fully understand your role. Check out my YouTube channel. Number 5, direct examination. The expert's role is a teacher, and the expert's analysis must be accepted and understood by the listeners, a jury or a judge. A complicated analysis must be reduced to an understandable presentation, and it must be done in a question and answer format. So the expert and the lawyer must prepare for direct examination and agree on the approach to the testimony. The problem is that the expert understands the details of the subject, and frequently the lawyer is only a generalist. So the two have to work together in the preparation phase to design the examination. I suggest developing a script of the expert's testimony, with both the lawyer and the expert having equal say in the structure of the presentation. To the expert, I say, don't just let the lawyer figure out how your technical testimony will be presented. Work together with the trial lawyer to arrange for a smart, logical presentation of the expert's work, ending with a strong conclusion that is supported by the facts considered and reasonable assumptions made in the analysis. A final point about direct. Every analysis has some weaknesses, and I strongly recommend dealing with the weaknesses affirmatively on direct examination rather than waiting for them to be brought up on cross-examination, where they have to be handled defensively. Get ahead of the argument against you. It's coming in order to succeed. Point 6, withstanding cross-examination. If you understand points 1 through 5, cross-examination should be a relatively insignificant event. There are a few rules to remember, however. Number 1, be careful not to treat the cross-examining lawyer any differently from the way you treated the examining lawyer. Maintain the exact same attitude toward each. Otherwise, you'll appear to be biased. 2, don't ever argue or become defensive. You're a scholarly professional who is merely seeking a truthful analysis, and that's what you believe you have done. 3, don't let the cross-examining lawyer mischaracterize your work, like, after you glanced at the medical records, or, so then you just picked a number. Politely disagree with these loaded terms that denigrate your work. You didn't just glance at the records, you carefully reviewed them. Or, you didn't just pick a number, you evaluated several approaches and concluded that $240,000 was the appropriate answer. Next, if you are presented with hypothetical questions, don't argue, but make sure that you include the term hypothetical in your answer. There are other rules for withstanding cross-examination, too numerous for this short video. Again, I suggest you look at my expert witness series to educate yourself on these details. Understanding these 6 steps will assure your success as an expert witness in your specialized field. Look at examples of good expert testimony and bad expert testimony on YouTube. They'll show you what to do and what not to do as an expert witness. Educate yourself to this exciting and profitable career path, and you too can succeed as a forensic consultant and expert witness. Finally, my latest book is Mastering the Art of Expert Witness Testimony, where I delve into every aspect of developing and managing a forensic consulting practice. I assure you it's well worth your time, and it's available on Amazon.
Brian Peter Brinig is an adjunct professor at the University of San Diego School of Law and managing director of the forensic consulting group of CBIZ, a national financial services firm. The strategies and tactics presented in this video presentation are discussed in complete detail in his treatise, Mastering the Art of Expert Witness Testimony, which is available by scanning the QR code on the screen or on Amazon.